Hi, it's Mark from Mark of the Cyberbeast, and today we're going to talk about the new Slate vehicle, kind of compare that to the Cybertruck, and since it is a truck, we're going to let you know what I think of it, because I am a 35-year truck owner, and I think I've got some good input on where this sits as far as the scheme of EV trucks. Also want to put a little side note, I got this really cool rack from EV Base, really cool. Went to try to install it yesterday, but I can't have my aftermarket light bar on along with it. So I'm gonna hold off on that install. As you may know, I'm getting my OEM light bar in about 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll take the aftermarket light bar off. I'll do the install of that rack from EV Base, and this way you'll get to see what that looks like. The install actually looks pretty darn easy, much like the ladder racks for the unit. And so I'm pretty excited to get that on there because it looks pretty cool. But May 19th, I believe, is the date. I'm going to Raleigh to get my light bar installed. But this episode is not about light bars or racks, it's about the Slate. So you may have heard all the industry buzz, okay? It's been all over X, been all over Facebook, been everywhere, all these articles written. They're buying free advertisement, I'll tell you. A new company called Slate, it's Amazon backed, okay? So, you know, it's funny, Bezos kind of likes copying everything Elon does. I mean, there was the rockets, right? Now it's the cars. What's gonna be next? You plug in some kind of connection to your brain and you order stuff on Amazon just by thinking of it, like Neuralink? I don't know, right? So this is a Amazon-backed project. And there are some concerns, right? They're immediately saying it's $25,000 before the tax credits. After the tax credits, it'll be sub $2,000, I'm sorry, $20,000 for the vehicle. Now, the number one thing everyone's talking about is, can they scale and be profitable, right? And Elon has said this multiple times. Real easy to build 1 or 2 vehicles, but to go ahead and make thousands of them, whole different animal. Now, I give credit to Bezos' team at Amazon. They're smart people, but if you look at like what Blue Origin's doing compared to SpaceX, they're just on 2 different levels, right? Even though Blue Origin has a lot of old SpaceX employees, you know, they're just at 2 different fields. I don't know if they're gonna be able to scale this properly. I mean, if you remember back, Amazon invested into Rivian early on. And look at Rivian, they had the hardest time in the world scaling, okay? So that's gonna be the biggest issue that they face, okay? Now, if they can scale, I think this product has some merit. Now, a couple things about the unit. They got a lot of ideas from the Cybertruck. The biggest one is customization. As you know, we've talked about the own your own. It's a blank canvas, the Cybertruck, right? It's some people wrap it, right? Some people polish it, right? Some people leave it raw dog, right? It's just a matter of how you like it. And then you got people who put the aftermarket light bars on it, the running boards, the bumpers. It's very malleable and very customizable. It's hard to see 2 of the same units on the road because everyone does their own thing to it. Well, the Slate kind of has that same concept right out of the gate. So if you've gone to the Slate website, the cars, or the trucks I should say, are, the outside is, I guess it's like a plastic, raw plastic type neutral color. And you can get it wrapped from the factory, right? And they have different color wraps, different color wheels, so you can very much customize it, more so than you can a Cybertruck. But you could also, aside from getting it just as a 2-seater with a pickup, you can go ahead and add seats to the back, add 3 more seats, put a cover on it, and they have actually a couple different covers to make it more like an SUV. Now, here's the thing about that. Yes, you can change it around kind of like a Jeep. You can go topless and still have the seats back there. But from owning a pickup truck 35 years, you know, sometimes you need to use the bed of the pickup and you don't know you're gonna need to. So the whole concept of, oh, you just unbolt the seats and you can use it as a pickup truck again, but you have to plan that. It's not like you have the seats in there and you have the top on it, and then you go to Home Depot and okay, I'm gonna get some mulch, I'm gonna get some 2x4s, but what do I do with my seats? You can't just take them out and leave them on the ground there at Home Depot, right? So there's gonna be a little more planning involved with that. And you might say, well, Mark, you just go home and drop them off at home. But there's a 150-mile range on this truck. Now, we all know if it's a 150-mile range, it's probably realistically 110, right? So it's really going to be a local vehicle. And the funny thing is, okay, everyone has this whole thing about Teslas only go 300 miles, Lucids go 500, the Cadillacs go 4 something. You know, everyone has this range anxiety, okay? But then when they hear about this Slate only going 150 miles, range anxiety isn't in the article at all. So what is it? Is it only range anxiety when it's Tesla going 300 miles but 150? We'll just ignore that, okay? We're going to talk more about that in just a second. But the whole idea of this customization kind of reminds me of the old VW Bug. Remember the old VW Bugs, right? Everyone have different colors, they do some customizations to it. Even the VW van, you know, you'd have people making it more custom, making it more personalized, like we do with our Cybertrucks, right? So I do like that kind of page they took out of it right from the gate, from the factory. You can do it, or you can do it aftermarket. So they're running with that whole make this your type look, and I get that. But inside the unit, I think there's some deficiencies that I just can't overlook. Now, number one, there's no smart screen, right, that's going to be there because they've obviously stripped this down to bare minimum. There's no radio, all right? What do they suggest you do in its place? So they've got these two like hook holders. They want you to throw a JBL there and just use your phone to power the radio, which, yeah, I get it. That's what people do in jet skis and boats. It's a viable alternative, but like, really? No radio? Come on. Which means also no GPS. You have to use your phone again, okay? So you don't obviously have full self-driving. There's no self-driving whatsoever, no autopilot, no nothing like that. But now you can use your phone for GPS and to change your music. That is just an accident waiting to happen. To me, that makes the vehicle totally unsafe, in my opinion, okay? Now, the other thing too, aside from not having a radio, not having a screen, not having GPS, no frill whatsoever, the biggest no frill is no power windows. It's all hand crank, or as we used to call it, I mean, it does have air conditioning, but back in the day we used to call it 255 AC, which means you roll your two windows down, you go 55 miles an hour, and that's your AC. Well, they've got AC, I'm just wondering how good it's gonna be, but to roll down the windows, it's a hand crank. You know, I've mentioned this on X on a couple different posts, and some guys were like, oh, no big deal. I don't know, bro. That's a hard sell, no crank. So there's gonna have to be a certain niche for this truck, and we're gonna talk about that in just a minute. I don't believe this is a Cybertruck competitor. I mean, this is a $25,000 truck. The Cybertrucks are $60,000 to $100,000. Look, if you want a nice vehicle, a nice truck, you're getting the Cybertruck. You know, you're not getting this. This is a toy. This is like a BYD special, right? I don't see people, I'm selling my Cybertruck and I'm getting a Slate. BS, because why would you step down like that? I mean, that to me, that is just, I don't see, especially after you use self-driving and you go to this and you have to put everything in your phone. It's just, you know, not a sell for me. Now let's talk about where I see people using this, okay? The biggest place I see people using this, I think this is going to be one of those, your town municipality, your local town, right, and the maintenance department. I think they're going to get a bunch of these because it's cheap, it's green energy. They want to push that whole mantra of green technology and green energy and renewable, etc. So they're going to get these for their pickup trucks for their city employees. Here's the problem I see. 150-mile range means You are charging this truck every single day. Even though you're using it in your local municipality, you're charging this truck every single day. No way around it, okay? Now let's say the municipality has 5 or 6 of these. They're gonna need 5 or 6 chargers for this. Are they gonna have the infrastructure and the electrical capacity to have 5 or 6 chargers running at the same time? How fast is this Slate going to charge? Because this is a no-frills vehicle. Maybe it's only gonna charge at 15, 20 miles an hour, okay? Then it's gonna be several hours for it to charge. So that's something that I see as a possible limitation, okay? The other use and sale for this, because this is very much a niche pickup truck, is for the contractors. I'm going back to them again. You know, a lot of times they need just inexpensive vehicles, but the problem is, okay, they do need a pickup, but 2 seats just simply not gonna cut it. They need that bed, but 2 seats, it's gonna be rough. Now, you're saying, Mark, well, the SUV can add 3 more seats, you got 5 people. Absolutely, but then there goes your storage. So maybe they're gonna buy 1 of each, 1 for the pickup, 1 for the SUV, 1 to transport the guys, 1 to transport the materials, and they can have 2 vehicles for $45,000 maybe, I don't know. But you know, the lowest cost of ownership. Remember, we talked about this in the previous episode. TCO, no oil changes, no gas, no tune-ups. Now the other thing I want you guys to think about, because this happened a lot back when gas was expensive. Now gas has come down in price. But when gas was expensive, the biggest issue people had, who had the contractors, they would fill up the vehicles, but then the people who worked for them would get siphons, and they'd siphon out the gas tank and throw 10, 20 gallons, you know, a week into their own vehicles, and they'd fill up their vehicles from gas from the truck. And a lot of business owners, they weren't real savvy with checking the mileage on it and see how many miles it went versus how much gas they were putting in. Also too, I know some very large contractors who actually have their own large gas tanks, and they fill up their own vehicles right from the big truck tanks, oil and gas tankers that come there, because it's cheaper. Now, what guys were doing, again, they would fill up their own vehicles from there. So a lot of those companies went to diesels because most people don't have a diesel vehicle. They can't, you know, pilfer from the company. So with the EV, you do have that protection of not having employees take gas from your vehicle. So that is the other lower TCO, total cost of ownership, with these type of devices. Again, I just, maybe for college students, you know, your kid goes to college, he goes local, and you want to get him a nice, new, reliable car that's cheap to run, cheap to buy. You know, rather than buy a $7,000 Toyota Corolla, maybe you get a $20,000 after credit Slate. And over the course of probably 2 or 3 years between gas, oil changes, tune-ups, it pays for itself, right? So that may be another one, right? Give a kid, you know, a little 2-seater. I don't know. It's definitely going to have a niche, because the sub $20,000 cars almost seem to have gone away, right? Everything has gone up so much in price that I do think there's a market for this, but I just don't see there's going to be a big market. Having to charge this thing literally every day, this is a around your town vehicle, 150-mile range. And again, you know, if you're only going to 80%, or if you know, you're on the mindset of you're not really going to get 150 miles on it, you're only going to get 110, maybe 120. You know, you're staying around town. Okay, it's your little gopher vehicle. Go for this, go for that, but staying in town. You're never going to use this to take on a trip and go 300, 400 miles to another major city. That's just simply not going to happen if you're charging every 120 to 40,000, 120 to 140 miles. That's just simply not going to be enough range. So this really has a small niche, but it does have a niche. Okay. It is not a competitor to a Cybertruck. The inside is very basic versus the posh interior, the amazing stereo, the handling, the features that the Cybertruck offers you. it's just, they're two different ends of the spectrum. Again, this is just such a rudimentary truck, but it's not a Tesla, so guess what? It's all over X, it's all over Facebook, it's getting articles written about it that are very, very favorable. You know, it reminds me of when I was younger. I graduated in 1986, I graduated high school in 86, and that was around the same year the Yugo came out. And this reminds me pretty much of the Yugo. The Yugo, if you go back and do some pictures of it, it was a basic, I don't know if it was a 2-door or 4-door car, but a lot of kids who went to local college, their parents got them a Yugo. It was like a $4,000, $5,000 car from Yugoslavia, okay? Parts availability was hard. So if you got into an accident or something broke, you know, you were out without the car for weeks. But it was a very inexpensive car. The parents got from because they wanted reliable transportation to have their kids go to a local college without spending a lot of money. That's where the Yugo was popular, but honestly, the Yugo probably lasted about a year or two, and people were like, not having it. Are they going to feel the same way about a Slate? Only time will tell. And in a year, time will tell if Slate can make this vehicle profitable and at scale. The two hardest things for an EV maker to do, make at scale and make a profit. Now, I would assume it's got a NACS charger, NACS, so you're going to see these at Tesla stations. So maybe, you know, next year you'll see it pop up next to your Cybertruck, pull along next to it and kind of check it out and you know, talk to each other. Let them see your Cybertruck, see his Slate or her Slate, and go back and forth and see what you think of it. We'll see. A year is a long time in this industry. I don't even know if they have a location to build these yet, an assembly line. Maybe they're going to buy some Optimus robots from Elon and Tesla, and they're going to make the Optimus robots build them. Who knows, okay? Also, too, when they break, when they get into accidents, what's the safety rating of this vehicle? Plastic exterior. Wow, I don't know. You know, this has some concerns. Remember, Tesla's not only the lowest cost of ownership of any vehicle, they're also the safest vehicles on the road and the most American-made on the road. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is what I just said. Most American-made on the road. This Slate, where is it going to be made? Canada? Mexico? The US? Somewhere else? Taiwan? Who knows? But remember those tariffs, right? That's going to be a factor where they build this factory, because those tariffs are going to be a big indication of, are they going to make their price, and where is it going to be made, and are the tariffs going to be involved? That is something that these investors from Amazon are going to have to think about and guide Slate with, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But remember, a year from now, Tesla's going to be even further along with things. It's going to be selling more Cybertrucks. It's going to be getting their assembly line even more finely tuned, and who knows, maybe the Cybertruck will come down a little bit in price and give the Slate maybe a run for its money with that $60,000 rear-wheel drive Cybertruck that we talked about in a previous episode. We'll see. I want to know what you think. Are you going to hand crank your windows? Are you going to have a JBL speaker for your sound? Is this a vehicle for you? Is it a vehicle for someone in your family? Remember, the comments are below, but so is like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to see you again tomorrow.